Today we're going to be talking about the roadmap to get you from zero to working as a digital marketing data analyst. You need a roadmap because becoming a digital marketing data analyst is not going to be super easy. It's not going to be super complicated or difficult either, but it's not going to be just a flip of the switch. And if you want to waste less time, because I could have gotten there sooner myself, then you could benefit from a blueprint. Now, why do you want to do this? Well, a digital marketing data analyst is a role that is well paid. You can get started fairly quickly, even if you don't have a degree in the industry. And many of these positions let you work remote or at least hybrid. So it's a very flexible role that opens up a lot of opportunities for you, especially if you want the flexibility of working from home. Now, as a caveat, this is a digital marketing data analyst, sometimes called an analytics engineer or a digital analyst. The role is not to be confused with a data analyst. It's similar. It's a subset of a data analyst, but you probably will not need as much programming knowledge or skills, which is good for those who aren't huge programmers. You'll need some, and you're going to be a little bit more heavily focused on various marketing analytics and data visualization tools to basically collect, track, and visualize the data in pretty dashboards for leadership. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Now, assuming you're starting from scratch, I think the first step in the roadmap, a level one, if you will, is you have to be able to get the fundamental skills that they're looking for in a job. It's kind of like, if someone's trying to hire a painter and you don't know how to paint. Well, you're just going to be out of luck, or you're just, another phrase for it is, you may just be at a big disadvantage. It's kind of like asking someone to work as a plumber and the guy has no experience on how to fix plumbing systems. You're going to be out of luck. So there is a base fundamental skill set you need, and I'm going to outline some of the base skills that I think you should get some experience in and level up your skill set in. So those are SQL, otherwise known as SQL. And I know I mentioned less programming, but the keyword is less, not that there's no programming. So you don't need to be an expert, but it would be great if you could get to at least a beginner to intermediate level with SQL. There's plenty of free programs online. I know I'm not sponsored or affiliated with any of them. Code Academy is one of many places. Udemy is another place where you can learn and take a course on this for free, or usually for a very affordable cost, and get you up to speed. Now, if you balk at like 20, 30, 40, or $100, consider the fact that people go and spend over 100,000 to get a college degree just to try and get a job for something. So really, it's a lot. Even if your college degree is like less, let's say it was only 40,000 compared to 100,000, that's still significantly more than just investing some into a program that will teach you SQL. So what else do you need to know? For this specific role, I think certain marketing tools, tag management tools, and BI tools are useful. I would say pick one of the popular ones in each category, because once you have one, you can kind of transition to others. I mean, there are some exceptions, and we'll go over those key exceptions, but a couple of the other ones that you should get very familiar with are Google Analytics as your marketing analytics tool, Google Tag Manager as your tag management tool system, and then a BI tool. I think you should start with Google Looker Studio. It's a very easy learning curve, but then if you can, I would highly recommend transitioning to a different BI tool and getting some real skill set and experience in that, such as Tableau or Mixpanel or Amplitude or Power BI. I would say Tableau and Power BI are the big popular ones that you'll see in a lot of job postings. And the thing is, those are the ones where I kind of hinted at before. They are not easy to learn in the sense that like you can transfer the skills from another tool to them. They're kind of unique in a way, just in how you navigate the tools, and therefore it's probably better off if you actually kind of learn those tools by themselves, at least one of them, Tableau or Power BI. So that's probably like the first thing, is to get your framework right about what skills you need and then to develop those skills. and that is one tag management system. Because if you know Google Tag Manager, then you can transition to others if you encounter them. Like Adobe has a tag management tool, but Google is the big player now. And then you'll be able to kind of identify how to do all these things. There's so many resources on the web, on websites, as well as YouTube channels that will teach you what these tools are and how to use them. You can just search up tutorials or specific websites and influencers. I personally like Measure School and Analytics Mania, which are two fantastic YouTube channels and websites that go into detail about how to use Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics 4. So level 2 in this roadmap is to really get the experience, hands-on, real-world experience. Because in my experience, I have found that just trying to use theory and reading articles online without having real clients or real work to play on, it really stifles your growth, because a lot of it's theoretical, and then you end up like focusing or just reading all this fluff in your head, thinking you know stuff. And I found this, while training others too, that like they think they know a lot more than they do, until you get in front of some real clients, and then you start to realize, oh, this is what they actually care about. This is what they request. Oh, this is what I really need to drill deep on, understanding more. And oh, this is tougher than I thought. So how do you get that real world experience? Well, the path I took and the path I recommend, if you can, is get your foot in the door at an agency, a marketing agency, a website development agency, one of these agencies that needs your help using some of these tools for their clients. I don't care if it's an unpaid internship or paid internship or a full-time job, but if you can get that stepping stone entry-level job, it will really level up your gameplay so that you can later on become an analyst. So for me, I started my career as a digital marketer, and I learned a lot about pay-per-click advertising, SEO, and all that stuff. But then eventually, after 5 years there, I kind of knew I kind of overstayed. I plateaued with my growth, my career, my income, and that's when I was able to transition. And if I could do it again, I would have done it in less time. I think, as I mentioned, I stayed at that agency too long, thinking that it would pay off somehow with my loyalty. But point being, then your next step in the process is really to get that real world experience. And that agency was great for that, because while I was doing advertising and SEO and those type of things, I was also navigating and building Looker Studio dashboards, going through Google Analytics. I even had some light tag manager experience, which I could leverage into that next role. A key lesson here is you don't have to be an expert at any of these things. When I was interviewing for my next role as a digital analyst, I was clear and honest that I wasn't an expert at these tools. In fact, you can actually even raise a red flag if you like claim to be one, and then like you show any lack of confidence or you get tested and then you don't know it. So I did represent the skill set I did have as strong as I could, because that's important. You don't want to have some light Google Tag Manager skills and hide it or diminish it and say you don't have it. You still want to present those, because I think that mindset helped me get the job. Because at the time, I think they were struggling to find that right fit. Like, there's usually no candidates who are experts in all these tools, but I had enough of a skill set. I wasn't an expert or even intermediate, but I had enough of a skill set in Google Tag Manager, and I was really strong in a lot of those other things that they were willing to give me a chance, and that ended up working really well for them giving me a chance. Because once I got into that role, not only did I get a lot more experience, but I had a mentor that was free, and technically they paid me, so it's even great. It's a job where I get paid to get mentored, and therefore I was able to up level all those skills to a much higher level from there. So that's a huge tip for you to kind of really get the ball going. And then the last step of this roadmap, you could call it level 3, is really demonstrating that experience, really building out your portfolio, your resume, to not only show those skills, but ideally show the industry experience to get the job you want. And part of this involves actually having some vision of where you want to head to. So if you want to really, for example, be a healthcare data analyst and healthcare is the industry you really care about, then you probably shouldn't just be, meandering through life and just taking any industry experience you can get, because then you're going to get a motley crew of random industry experience. Maybe it's video games, and maybe it's fitness, and maybe it's home decor. But like it or not, employers, when they're hiring for a certain industry, they like people who have years of experience in that industry. And you may be saying, well, that's a chicken and egg problem. How am I supposed to get that experience when I'm just trying to get any role? And then, once I get a job in a certain role and it's not the industry I want, then I'm just going to be pigeonholed in that industry instead. What's the problem? Now, this is a thought I've had myself, and I can't claim to have all the answers, but I will say that, starting off, I still think it was the right move for me to just grab any entry-level job I could get, regardless of the industry. And that was that first digital marketing job I had at an agency who specialized mostly in B2B software, but we did, on occasion have various clients in other industries, from law to software to tech to finance, and you name it. And so even though those industries may not have been my first or second choice, at the time I was really interested in video games and more like B2C focused industries. I was super fortunate because it was hard to get my foot in the door. I was applying for months and months without hearing anything, and that got my foot in the door, and I knew how hard it was in this economy to get a job. So even though it wasn't the right industry, I could still get the ball rolling, and then I can start to frame myself and have a game plan for later on transitioning to the right industries by kind of highlighting the work I do have with the industries I want, even if it wasn't the majority of the work I did at that first job. So once you put all these things together in this roadmap, level 1, 2, and 3, I guess the final frontier to get that first job or that next job or the final job, you could call it level 4, is bringing that together with networking. So when I was starting out, I bought some expensive courses on getting jobs. And one of them taught me that it's important to network. Oftentimes, knowing someone at the company will give you that final tip-off to get you on top of the resume pile. And I'm not saying knowing someone on your own is enough. That's why we had all those previous levels there. You still need to be able to walk the walk and do the job. But, when you're competing with a few hundred resumes at the start, and maybe even maybe several resumes at the end of the hiring selection process, and there's only 1 or 2 spots open, what's going to tip the scale? Obviously, everything you do in the job interviews, all your skills, your portfolio, and what that stuff. But sometimes knowing the right person can really help you kind of get your foot in the door and be noticed, especially at the start of the process. And just think about it. There's so many hundreds of resumes being sent out that you can be accidentally passed over, but just by knowing someone can just help you highlight yourself. And how do you actually do that? Well, there's a lot of different ways, but the main way is really to start to develop a relationship, maybe a small colloquial one, but at least something. And for me, I wasn't an expert at it, but through the course, I was able to actually learn a few things where I was able to network with people I reached out to on LinkedIn who had jobs in industries, companies, or platforms, or just were in other local agencies of relevance. And through that, I just had small 15-minute or less coffee chats, oftentimes virtual, because it was hard to get them to meet in person, especially during COVID. And so you just have informational interviews about the job, about the work, about the company, and just start to develop that relationship. And I didn't make it transactional, and I sent out a lot of messages on LinkedIn. Only a small percent responded, but the ones who were kind enough to do so, they kind of helped propel me. And with many of the other people who have done this, it's helped them get referrals into companies they never heard of or considered, job titles they never even considered, even referrals to companies they were thinking about applying to. And the way you do it is not to come in and say, oh, can I get a job? Can I do this or that? It really was just to learn more about the company, develop that relationship, because no one likes someone who's too transactional. And through that, they will naturally start to assess you unconsciously about that. And if they feel like it's a right fit, they will on their own refer you to that company and so forth. So those are the steps. That's the roadmap to getting your digital marketing data analyst job. And it actually applies to a lot of other jobs, especially technical jobs in the industry, if you're interested in tech. So use this roadmap, and best of luck. Leave a like and subscribe, and join my free email newsletter down below for exclusive tips on how to get a job as a marketing analyst.